Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Fireside Streams presented by FS. I'm Michael Fisher, VP of Menswear, and I am pleased to be here with a very special guest today. She's the founder and CEO of the Montauk SaltCave, Shannon Coppola. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, good morning. Thank
Hi, good
you.
morning. So today we're actually going to talk with you in reference to one of our cultural sentiments for fall winter 22-23, and it is called Refuge. It's the perfect epitome of what you guys do at the Montauk Salt Cave. So for those of you that haven't dug into next season yet, we defined a refuge is a serene space of controlled comfort. It's a retreat from the disorder of daily life where one can enjoy the recharging qualities of solitude. And I think in these post-pandemic times that we are now sailing right through, hopefully, these spaces of refuge are optimized to protect, defend us against all these invisible enemies that have been lurking for the last year and will be lurking in public spaces. So we're seeking to create these oases out of our homes, our cars, our offices, and equip them to cater to all of our needs from entertainment, work, learning, even wellness. Yet the refuge is also not always a physical space, which is something to keep in mind. Often it can just be a state of mind or some kind of introspective disposition. So what we want to get across in this interview today is, of course, the exact specifics of what makes a refuge is entirely personal and very uniquely defined to everyone, so long as the space promotes healing, rest, and of course, the ability to recharge for tomorrow. So obviously, Shannon, I think that your work personifies this sentiment perfectly, which is why we asked you here today. And I'm really excited for you to kind of help us find this real world connection with such an esoteric idea. So welcome to Fireside Streams. So you are the founder and CEO of Montauk SaltCave.
Yeah.
A lot of us here at FS are big fans. Currently has 3 locations, including the original one in the Hamptons, Huntington, New York, and of course on East 10th Street and Manhattan. Before we get into what you guys actually do, I really enjoyed reading about your journey with your business. And I know it had a really personal origin with what you went through with your son and how you came to discover the benefits of salt therapy. So could you talk a little bit about that?
You got it. So when our son Oliver was 4, we discovered the salt therapy. But prior to discovering the salt therapy, there was 4 years of sleepless nights, a horrific cough that was every hour on the hour with no real explanation. We treated for asthma. We did everything under the sun that the doctors and pediatricians and ENT were advising us to do. We had the tonsils removed, the adenoid removed. We treated for allergies, but it never really gave him the relief that he needed. So a friend had mentioned salt therapy, but I, at the time, did not know about it. I did know that when I was a child, if we had a sore throat, we gargled with salt water. If we were injured, we bathed in Epsom salt. So there was healing behind salt. Serendipitously, I was in New Jersey, where I'm from, for my mom's birthday. And I said to myself, there has to be something in Manhattan. So I Googled it, and there was not, but there happened to be a salt room in the town where I grew up. So my husband and I brought Oliver, and that night he slept for the first time at age
Wow.
4. So, but of course, we were both like, this is a placebo. Come on. We've done everything. He sits in a room of salt and he sleeps. Come on. But the 3 of us went back again the following day because my husband and I both have Lyme disease. I always had eczema my whole life, especially in the winter. And after doing my research, I was like, well, the salt is supposed to help with all of this stuff, so let's try it. And lo and behold, we left feeling like new people, really. I mean, our joints didn't hurt, my skin, it cleared up my eczema after one session. So we drove home to Montauk and, wait for Oliver to cough. And if he did, we drove back to New Jersey and did a session and then came home. And eventually we just decided to build one here because there are so many people that needed this type of therapy, and granted it was very new and people were very skeptical and they're like, this is so new age, and I'm like, cool. But that's been the beauty of it, is that through our son, we're able to help so many people. And whether, just as you said, if it's for the physical issues that they have, be it, you know, any autoimmune, whether it's arthritis or skin conditions or respiratory issues, or just for what you're talking about, the spiritual connection, the clearing of your mind, and just being okay in your own zone. Um, it's been wonderful to be able to offer that to the community.
It's amazing. And we think of so many things that are just so indigenous to our environment, carbon, and salt is obviously one of those things. It's just always
Hmm.
been around the history of
Yeah,
the universe, and it's still so beneficial to us. It's
yeah.
really amazing. So salt therapy itself, I actually have to tell you, I did a lot of deep diving research into its origins, but can you kind of tell us like how long has it been around? How have people been using it? I think people would be surprised to learn that it as a therapy has a lot, longer origins than just
Oh, for
the last thing.
sure. Well, that was just it. I mean, in Poland was where they really discovered the healing properties of inhaling the salt, was that the salt miners were outliving their life expectancy, right? So
Mhm.
back then, anyone mining anything shouldn't live to their expectancy. So then that's when they started to really discover that being around that kind of salt, the pure salt, and inhaling it all day long, it was just providing so many health benefits and elongating people's lives, that they now have actual respiratory hospitals built within these natural underground salt mines. They have places where you can go and worship. It's very cool. So it was founded in Poland hundreds of years ago, and it's very, people in Europe really, really know about it because it's all over Europe. The natural forming salt caves, right? And then, of course, where our salt comes from is the Himalayas. So in Nepal and in Pakistan is where, especially in Nepal, it's a place where the monks go and just worship, and they're at peace with themselves.
Mhm. It's amazing.
So,
I mean, obviously, as always, it takes so long to get to America, right?
yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
So if I come to Montauk Salt Cave, what can I expect? Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? What am I going to wear?
Okay. You're going to come dressed as you are. Obviously, you want to be kind of comfortable because you are coming to relax.
Mhm.
We will ask that you remove your shoes because there's 8 tons of salt in this
Oh
room in
my
Montauk.
gosh.
So the walls are lined with salt. The ground is all granulated salt as if you're walking on the beach. So we do ask that you remove your shoes and wear socks. And then if you're coming for a standard salt cave session, you're going to be sitting in a zero gravity chair. We recline you back. We tuck you in with blankets. It's like we're bringing you back to pre-K. We're putting your
Right.
stuff in a cubby. You're going to have a little nap.
Nap time. Yeah.
Very dimly lit in there. There's just fiber optic lighting. Like this, the ceiling looks like a starry night.
Mhm.
And so once the door is closed, there's meditation music being played, and you're just kind of, the idea is to just close your eyes and focus on your breathing. As you would a computer, if it's not quite working properly, you unplug it and plug it back in, turn it off, turn it back on. That's the notion behind the salt therapy, is that you're coming in to just really clear your head, clear your mind.
It's
Because
awesome. Like
sometimes our minds, just
right.
crave
It's like a
the
reset
physical.
to our origin.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I love
Totally.
that. So I noticed on the site that there's this section of healers that you have on your team. So can you tell me like how important is like a personal connection to the benefits of halotherapy? And by the way, halotherapy is another word for salt therapy. But in your experience, how important has that kind of connection been?
It's been amazing. The healers that we have in all three locations are really, they're working from their heart, and you can tell the difference, just like anything else, right? I mean, you can tell. So, and it's very organic when the clients meet with the healers that this connection happens, right? They're very gentle, and they're really good at what they do, right? So they're gifted. So you would come in for a session and do what you would for a regular salt therapy session, but coupled with that, you could have a Reiki master working with you. You can have a sound healer working with you. We have a plethora between all three locations of healers that really it's just, as I said, it's an organic connection that they make with the clients. And the proof to the pudding is that the clients keep coming back, right? So our clients become family, and that, let's say Linda's on a Thursday morning at 10, that 3 of those people that are going to be showing up are people that come every Thursday for that healing.
Right. So for so many of your clients, it really just becomes this essential as going to the gym, yoga,
Yeah.
anything. I mean, it is really part of their wellness.
Totally. It becomes part of your wellness routine, just as you said, as you would acupuncture, or massage or yoga, you build it in. And especially if you do have, let's say an autoimmune, whether it's Lyme to arthritis or everything in between, many of our clients have found that by coming on a regular basis, they're no longer needing to take that heavy duty anti-inflammatory drug that is crippling their intestines, And granted, I'm not a doctor, and always follow your doctor's orders. But if there's a natural way to give your body relief, I mean, it can't hurt, right?
No, not at all. And I mean, really just starting back at the beginning of our conversation and the benefits of it for your son, I think so many people think an experience like this is just for adults. And I think to being back a kid, even like your son's age when you started this, I can imagine this could turn into such a fun family experience doing something like this, because to them, it's literally like going into a cave, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. And like for the little wee ones, we have shovels and buckets, and they don't even realize that they're doing something healthy for themselves, and so, and it is cool. They do feel like they're going into, some kids have said like, oh, this is like Disney World, with the faux stalagmites that we made. Um, and it has become, and there have been many children that have walked in both Huntington and in Manhattan. We actually built a second cave in both of those locations because in Montauk, because we have the one room, we were figuring out, we'll have 1 hour for a kid session. But that didn't always fit for every kid, whether it was nap time or after school sports or homework or whatever the case may be. So when we built the other 2 locations, we said, let's build a second cave where that can operate as a children's cave all day long and fit into, and it could be, private. It could be just that family coming and doing this together, and everyone will reap the reward, even if there isn't anything quote unquote wrong with you, right? You're still doing something great to boost your immune system.
I love that. So, I was thinking about all these healing properties that the earth offers us. And like we kind of said earlier, I think there's so much more that we probably just really take for granted. Why do you think so many people look towards like chemicals and other Western medicines when there's obviously so many untapped, properties of things like the therapy that you guys offer? I mean, why is it that we don't even start there?
I think because it's easier to just take a pill, right? It's easier to, and I think also because we trust our doctors, right? So if a doctor says, hey, take this and you're going to feel better,
Yeah.
you follow the doctor's orders. I mean, I'm guilty of it. Just as I said, like with Lyme, Lyme is something that you have and you always have it, right? So if you're telling me I have to be on a 6-week course of doxycycline and I can't go in the sun and I can't do this and it's going to make my body hurts, and, but if it just takes me 10 seconds to swallow a pill, that's a lot easier than figuring out time to get into a car and drive to the SaltCave and sit there for 45 minutes. So I think that's part of it, is that not that humans are lazy or complacent, but it's just easier.
Yeah, it's just the convenience factor, right? And also, I think a lot of times we just accept what the experts tell us
Yeah,
as being, yeah, right. I mean, that's what we go with instead of doing our own research, I think a lot of times.
I agree.
Obviously, wellness is very passionate to you, which I really love. So what are some other things that you do to find refuge in especially the last year with all of this chaos? You own a business. I mean, where else are you looking for clarity and calm? You obviously live near the ocean, so I'm sure that's one. But
Yes. I think being out in nature is super important. Any opportunity that you can be outside. I do think that just learning how to breathe, right? I mean, breathing is something that we just do automatically for survival. But I think that really learn the technique of breathing, right? And to get down into your core to release the stress. It definitely helps. It helps with sleeping. It helps with everything. So just, I mean, life is chaotic for all of us, right? Whether it's because you have children or because of work or because of the pandemic. I mean, there have been so many things that just keep us too busy. And I think also society these days and all of the distractions of social media and just you have to just put that stuff down, right? And pick up a book instead of in the morning, grabbing your phone with your coffee. Like go sit outside and have your coffee and just watch, right? Like just look out the window.
Yeah, I love that. We have a son who's 9 months old, and so last summer when we were pregnant and with our surrogate, and we had a little bit of some stressful times, especially in the third trimester. And I remember, especially during COVID, that something that I was so not used to doing. I was always used to getting up at 6 a.m., taking the train into the city at 6:54, and so last year, not commuting into the city and having all of this stress and anxiety, it was the first time in my life that I actually went outside in the morning before I even started my work and just literally listened to the birds and
Yeah.
the leaves on the trees. And I can't even tell you how much of a difference it made in my outlook.
Yeah, it's so simple, right? It's funny that you say that. Like just the other day, I was in the post office and I ran into a local woman who she grew up here in Montauk and she owned a business here in Montauk for 35 years and she just retired. And she said, wow, I never realized that I have such a nice backyard,
Yeah.
because you're in the hustle and the bustle, you go, 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 go. So sometimes it's even if like 10 minutes, give yourself a break for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
it's
I
great.
love what you said about breathing because I remember the first time I ever got a massage was when I was in my 20s and I'd moved to New York and I'd never been to a spa before. And I remember being taught at that time that I didn't even know how to breathe. I was such a shallow breather
Yeah.
that I didn't even understand what it was to breathe in and breathe out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us that live, especially in the hustle and bustle of the city, we're always like on the go and we don't even understand what it means to actually breathe in the air.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting. So, what are some interesting trends that you've been seeing as a business owner in this kind of beauty and wellness sector? Like, what are some things you're really excited about? Especially, I feel like we're going into this new roaring 20s. I hope people
I
are,
know.
yeah, people are ready to go and have fun. Like, what are some things that you're like feeling in the zeitgeist?
Like in
Yeah,
general, or just, I
anything.
mean, I think that I really love how much people really are into wellness and fitness and taking care of their bodies and not for vanity, but just because it does make you feel better, right? Um, and I love how, each program is geared differently towards everyone, as long as you find the time to do it. I am super excited for all new awareness of limiting like plastics, which is kind of
Mhm.
separate, from um, there's just I feel like I remember being when the pandemic hit, walking the dog on the beach and thinking, wow, this is going to be really great for the environment, like the less air pollution, the less light pollution, the less car pollution, thinking it was going to be so awesome. And then the next day being on the beach and just seeing litter, whether it was the rubber gloves or the masks or and then just being reminded that humans, we really need to just be better to ourselves, right? And to be better to our community. And I think something cool that is coming to the Montauk location and hopefully coming to the Huntington location and the Manhattan location is something called a refill bar, where I'm building these bars, right? Where you come in with your own bottle and fill it up with these awesome organic shampoos, conditioners, and body washes that I'm teaming up with this woman, Janine. She created the product. So I'm excited for that, right? I mean, I think that if we take care of the earth, we're going to just take care of ourselves. So I love that new awareness of like, hey, okay, you have a plastic essential water bottle. Well, guess what? You can reuse that and come or go to other refill bars and fill it up with this product and just keep reusing it, right? I mean, I'm excited for that.
I think that's so true. I have two twin brothers who are 14 years younger than me. So I'm like the oldest millennial possible. They're like down there in the core millennials. I'm like 41. One thing that I was really impressed with is that one of them just moved or is moving in the process, moving from Virginia up here to Connecticut. And I was trying to help him with some places to buy furniture and sofas. And I was so impressed because he didn't go with any of the stores I recommended, because he found that the furniture wasn't sustainable enough, that, you know, they didn't talk about where it came from, who made it. And he found this amazing website that makes beautiful sofas. They're packed flat for efficiency. You know, they talk about their carbon usage and everything. And I was so proud of him, because that just isn't anything that occurred to me as someone who's like shopping for a sofa, is to think
Right.
about what the, you know, the footprint was.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
And
I think it's a new way of looking at everything, right? Like that's first and foremost, you know, at the core of what we're thinking about. So I love that. So, okay, finally, I want to end on a really fun question. All right. You're going to probably be the biggest expert of salt I'll ever meet. All right. So, you know, I know there's like pink Himalayan sea salt. I've cooked with it. There's flake salt, there's smoked salt, there's pickling salt. Like, I love it. So what kind of salts do you use? Do you have in your kitchen? Like what kind of salts are, like, you know, should we all have in our lives?
okay. Well, unless you're going to actually pickle pickles or, string beans or any
Right.
other vegetable, you don't really need pickling salt. So you
Okay.
can, check that off the list. Or smoked salt too, right? I mean, smoke is just where they kind of incorporate that with the wood, and it's more of like a woody taste.
Yeah.
The only recommendation that I can give is just don't use your regular over-the-counter table salt, because
Right.
it's been stripped of any kind of minerals through the heating process. The pink Himalayan salt is super great. It does not raise your blood pressure. It lowers your blood pressure. There's also something that I highly recommend. It's called Soleil. So it's a glass jar that has the chunks of the Himalayan salt, and you drink a teaspoonful of it each morning, and it helps with any inflammation you have in your body. So yes, I would say for sure Himalayan salt is healthier for you, whether you're seasoning with it, cooking with it, or drinking it, or bathing in it. But that's my only recommendation, is just make sure that it's pure, right? And make sure that it's just not your run-of-the-mill over-the-counter table salt.
Yeah, we don't want that like old canister of table salt that like
Yeah. That's just gonna like clog your arteries and
yeah,
make
no, that's not the good kind. Awesome. Shannon, your wisdom and your passion are so inspiring to us. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this really important real world validation of our cultural sentiment, Refuge. We will obviously see you in the cave. We are so excited about everything that's going on with your business. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.